We often think about finding this perfect heaven on earth, maybe some physical place we can journey to.
Mm-hmm. Like a destination.
Exactly. But what if that whole idea is sort of backward? What if heaven isn't somewhere you go, but it's more about understanding how heaven and earth are already intertwined right now?
Shaping our reality in this moment. Yeah.
The Atlanteans actually had a word for this,
Hmm.
Addy. Let's use that as our starting point today, fellow wanderer.
And it's fascinating, this ancient idea, mirroring the stars, the heavens right here on Earth with buildings.
Aligning structures.
Right, and the goal wasn't reaching up to some distant god. It was about activating something inside, a divine light within us.
Wow. And you connect that to modern physics.
Well, yeah, think about it. Physics tells us matter is basically light, energy, electrons, photons.
So these ancient ideas suddenly sound less mythical.
Exactly, more like a fundamental truth about our existence, our own wanderings through reality.
Okay, so in this deep dive, designed for you, the listener, the wanderer, we're looking at notes from May 20th, 2025, and some really insightful clips from a YouTube video.
The one with Matías De Stefano, Unlock Your Potential.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Unlock your potential in manifesting, money and the mystical. Our mission here, as fellow seekers on this journey, is really to explore your curiosity about reality, manifestation, ancient wisdom, all through Matías's unique lens on this, well, this grand wander.
And the real core idea we're digging into on this part of the journey, it's how grasping this universal consciousness, moving past the limits we put on our own minds.
Usual mental boxes.
Yeah, and really embracing imagination, how that can totally shift how we perceive and even create the reality we experience as we wander through life.
Okay, let's start with that heaven on earth idea. Not a place, but an inner state you can find on your wanderings. The notes mention Atlanteans mirroring stars with temples, pyramids. What was the thinking there?
Well, the purpose was to use these physical places, these structures, almost like energetic tools, resonator.
To activate that inner light.
Yeah.
During their earthly wander.
Precisely. They thought by aligning what they built on Earth with celestial patterns, stars up there reflected in buildings down here, maybe even rivers mirroring the Milky Way, they could tap into a deeper cosmic connection. They could realize their own divine nature right here in the physical world, wherever their wanderings took them.
It's like they were literally trying to bring heaven down to earth, right onto their own paths.
Yeah.
And you mentioned physics, again, matter is light. How does that fit? How does that help us understand our cosmic wander?
If you really zoom in down to the tiniest levels, what seems solid is actually just energy dancing. Electrons, photons, always moving.
Dynamic.
Totally dynamic. So the Atlanteans, maybe without our fancy scientific words, they seem to get that the physical world isn't fixed. It's a manifestation of something more fundamental. Light, energy, whatever you want to call it. And that backs up this idea that heaven isn't some separate place you reach at the end of your wander. It's a state of higher understanding, of awareness, that you can access right within this material life throughout your journey.
So we don't have to wait to ascend somewhere after this physical wander is over. It's about realizing that potential now, right where we are. Which brings us to the next bit. Transcending the human mind, this idea of mentalism. The notes mention the Hermetic principle. What's the key takeaway for us, contemplating our place in this universal wander?
Okay, this is crucial. When that Hermetic principle, that ancient wisdom, talks about mind, it's not just talking about our individual brain power, the part shaped by our personality, our experiences on our personal wander.
Right. My thoughts, your thoughts.
It's talking about something much bigger, a universal mind, an interconnected field of consciousness that underlies everything. It's a very fabric of the reality we wander through. Our little minds, in this view, are like local expressions of that huge cosmic mind, each having its own unique experience on the journey.
Okay, so my personality, my ego, that's just one tiny viewpoint within this massive interconnected wander.
Exactly right. Our personality, with its limited view shaped by our specific experiences, it's a product of this vast interconnected mind. So to really tap into the creative power of this universal mind, to find that balance between our own journey and the grand scale of things, we need to move beyond just our human perspective as we wander.
Oh, how do we actually do that? It sounds pretty abstract for us on our, day-to-day wanderings.
Matías suggests trying to release that purely human viewpoint, allowing ourselves, during our wander, to think and feel like other parts of nature.
Like a plant or a star.
Yeah. A plant drawing energy from the sun, a star radiating power, an animal sensing its world instinctively. It's about realizing the cosmic mind isn't linear. It's not limited to our logic. It's this huge web we're all part of in our wanderings. It's not just knowing it intellectually, but almost becoming it, feeling that connection deeply as we move through the world.
He uses that analogy, seeing ourselves as just a wave in the ocean. I like that. It really puts our individual wanderings into perspective within the whole flow. We're not separate drops.
Exactly. We're part of this immense ocean of creation. Each wave is a unique expression of the whole, journeying across the surface. We're not really going anywhere because everywhere is already moving through us on this cosmic wander, that feeling of being separate, like we're just this limited person on a lonely path. That's a construct, a trick of the human mind. The truth is that heaven, that expanded awareness, it's already inside us. It's just sort of compressed by our limited view as we navigate our daily wanderings.
This links so well with the power of imagination versus intellect in our journey. The notes mention society overemphasizing intellect. Why is that a problem for us, the wanderers looking for deeper understanding?
Well, intellect is great, right? For analyzing, understanding how things work along our path. It's linear, logical, but it usually operates within frameworks we already know.
Inside the box.
Totally. Imagination, though, that's about seeing possibilities, the connections between the lines, like the notes say. That's where creativity, innovation starts on our wanderings. But society, often because of, rigid dogmas or even a purely scientific focus, has sometimes dismissed imagination, called it childish, unrealistic. It's suppressed that more magical way of thinking that can guide us onto unexpected paths in our journey.
So real intelligence isn't just about collecting facts for our mental backpack on this wander. It's that intuitive jump, seeing beyond the surface of our immediate surroundings.
Absolutely. True intelligence, Matías puts it as to read between the lines. It's not just what's stated, what's proven on the well-worn path. It's grasping the underlying potential, the interconnectedness of everything on our unique wander. Imagination is the tool we use to make things up. And that act of creation, envisioning something that isn't yet on our personal horizon, that's fundamental to bringing anything new into being on our journey.
And the notes link this to quantum physics, the observer effect, how our observation influences reality in our own experience of this wander.
Yes. The observer effect suggests that just by looking at a quantum system, you can change it. Like focusing a camera, what you focus on becomes sharper, more defined in the reality you're wandering through.
Okay.
This really resonates with the idea that our imagination, our focused attention on a possibility, can actually play a role in shaping our individual journey. If everything starts as an idea, an imaginative act, then it's pretty clear why embracing and trusting our imagination is so vital for creating change in our lives along our wanderings. We shouldn't be afraid to make it up because often that's the very first step towards a new reality on our path.
That's fascinating for us to think about as we navigate our own wanderings. Let's shift to these states of heightened perception Matías talks about. It sounds like a very deliberate process he uses during his explorations.
He describes it as Matías laying down, basically letting go of his individual self, his personality, and just becoming really present in the environment he's exploring.
Oh.
The key seems to be shifting focus away from the busy analytical mind.
The constant chatter.
Right. And towards the body's fundamental processes. Breathing, oxygen flow, even the electron exchange at a cellular level, the very energy that animates our wanderings. He's shifting his awareness to that basic energy flow within him, where the edges of the individual self start to kind of blur into the wider landscape of his wander.
And what does he actually see or perceive in that state? It sounds like seeing beyond the normal scenery of his wanderings.
He says he starts to perceive the underlying patterns, the connections, the geometry linking people and their surroundings, all part of this universal wander. Right. He doesn't see them as separate folks or objects anymore.
More like nodes in a network.
Kind of, yeah. Or parts of a larger organism, machine, all moving together on this shared journey. He talks about sensing their frequencies, how their energies align, and noticing where there might be gaps or imbalances in the overall flow of this cosmic wander.
He calls himself a weaver when he's in that state. What does that mean for this interconnected wander?
He sees these energy patterns spreading out, and he understands how different elements, people, parts of the environment he's wandering through can be arranged or maybe just brought together to create coherence, harmony.
Amen.
When the right frequencies line up, seemingly magical things can happen along his path, but he stresses it's not his will forcing it. It's the universal mind connecting through the people present on this shared wander. The key is observation, allowing these patterns to unfold naturally, not trying to control them with the analytical mind as he navigates his way.
It's like becoming a channel almost.
Yeah.
Letting that universal energy flow and create through your individual wander. That's a powerful idea for us to hold as we navigate our own paths.
Okay.
Let's switch tracks. Pyramids. The notes really challenge the usual story about why they were built by those ancient wanderers.
Yeah, the common idea is, tombs for pharaohs or maybe structures to help them reach the afterlife, connect with gods up there at the end of their earthly wander.
Right.
But Matías offers a different view. It's rooted in accessing the divine within during your life. He describes a pyramid not just as the pointy thing we see sticking out of the ground, but as half of an octahedron. That's a shape with 8 faces. Think 2 pyramids joined at the base. And the chambers, the tunnels inside, they represent that lower reflected pyramid, a mirror of the heavens in the earthly wander.
An octahedron. Okay, why is that shape important for understanding our place in this cosmic wonder?
Hugely important. It symbolizes the fire in the middle, the core of creation, that central energy point where all our wanderings begin. And what's more, inside the geometry of the octahedron, you find other basic geometric shapes.
Like what?
Tetrahedrons, cubes, hexahedrons, dodecahedrons, icosahedrons. According to this view, these shapes represent the entire network of creation, the basic building blocks of the universe we wander through. The octahedron, with all that geometry inside it, was seen as like a mini-universe. A key to understanding how everything's connected and accessing that fire within on your personal journey.
So the pyramids weren't about reaching up to some distant heaven at the end of the journey. They were about going inward, accessing this core of creation within yourself during the wander.
That's exactly it. They were built as seats of the tree of life, but on the ground, aligned with specific stars like the Great Pyramid in Minaka in Orion's belt to tap into their information, their energy network, as part of the cosmic wander. The goal wasn't becoming a servant to a god above after you die. It was using the pyramid as a tool to become God in the center, to realize that fundamental unity with the divine source throughout your earthly wander.
Okay, wow. And how did they try to achieve that inside the king's chamber, specifically on their inner wander? The notes mention geometry, frequencies.
The understanding was that creation's fundamental nature is waves and frequencies. The vibrations that underpin our entire wander through reality, even though we see reality as particles like electrons. At the quantum level, when they're not being observed, they act like waves. The Atlanteans seem to understand this, and were trying to find the specific frequencies that underpin reality, the basic notes in the Song of Our Wander.
And sound was key to tuning into these frequencies during their inner wander.
Yes. They believed that by making specific sounds, maybe chanting certain vowels, a person could tune their own energy field, their own structure, to resonate with the pyramid's geometric structure, aligning themselves with the very fabric of creation they were exploring on that inner wander.
And that resonance would do what?
It would activate the pineal and pituitary glands, creating this vibrational echo within the pyramid itself, amplifying their inner journey.
What was the goal? What was the intended effect of this resonance on their experience of wandering through reality?
The aim was to transcend normal physical perception during these inner explorations. People would feel sensations like floating, levitating, like they were literally out among the stars on their cosmic wander. By finding the right sound, the particles of their body and the chamber would essentially become waves. This allowed them to tap into the same song, the same frequency, present in other stars or celestial bodies connected to those particles, experiencing a profound connection to the universe during their inner journey. It was conceived as a kind of time-space travel.
But not physically moving.
No, not moving across space. More like accessing the universal frequency and becoming, everywhere at once on their inner wander.
That is mind-bending stuff for us to think about on our own wanderings. Now, the notes also mention something more personal, maybe unexpected, for people on these deep inner journeys. Loneliness. After these big, expanded states.
Yeah, Matías talks about this recurring feeling of loneliness. It comes up for him every evening, he says, after he comes back from these deep states of awareness where he remembers the void, the emptiness at the core of the universe. It's a vastness way beyond our everyday wanderings.
So there's a contrast.
A huge contrast between being Matías, the person interacting with the world on his daily wander, and remembering this deeper truth of existence, this fundamental nothingness that everything comes from, the ultimate backdrop to all our individual journeys.
He calls it a good void, but it still feels isolating for him on his personal wander.
Exactly. The void represents infinite potential, sure, but From the limited viewpoint of the human personality, just trying to navigate its individual wander, it can feel like a lack of meaning, a deep isolation from all the connections you make on the surface of life's journey. It's a kind of spiritual crisis, really, because truly seeing who you are at the deepest level means facing this void at the heart of it all.
So how does he handle that feeling, that isolation that can come after these deep inner wanderings? It sounds like it could be really unsettling for anyone going through it.
He really emphasizes allowing himself to fully feel the void and any emotions that come with it, even difficult ones like depression or that sense of meaninglessness that can creep in when you contemplate the vastness beyond your personal wander.
Instead of pushing it away.
Right. He sees that the human instinct is usually to seek joy, connection, to avoid those feelings during our earthly journey, but he views that as a limited sort of mammalian perspective. True understanding, he suggests, means embracing the state of nothing, which he sees as perfection, the ultimate ground of possibility from which all our wanderings arise.
Okay.
He reminds himself, from this state of being everything, I can create anything along his path. His advice is to allow the full spectrum of human experience. Enlightenment isn't about being blissed out all the time on our wander. It's about embracing all of it, even the starkness of the void.
That's a really powerful reframing of enlightenment for us to consider as we wander through life's ups and downs. Okay, let's shift to something else that often brings up strong feelings on our journey: money. The notes say Matías doesn't see it as inherently bad on our shared wander through the material world.
No, not at all. He's quite firm. Money itself isn't evil. It's the stupid approach people often have towards it, which he thinks is shaped by our survival-based society, maybe religious traumas that have demonized wealth throughout our history as wanderers.
So how does he see it?
He sees money as energy, as value. He draws a parallel with nature's economy, like the constant exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide that keeps everything alive on our shared planet. The core idea is a big shift. See money not as this limited thing you have to hoard on your personal wander.
Right, the scarcity mindset.
Exactly. But see it as a flow of energy that actually amplifies when you focus on giving value to others on our shared journey.
He talks about moving from taking to giving as we navigate this energy flow on our wander. What does that mean practically for us?
He contrasts that survival mode scarcity, competition, feeling like you have to work insanely hard to get anything and someone else will take your spot if you slip up on your personal wander. He contrasts that with what he calls expansion mode, where possibilities can actually come to you as you contribute to the wider wander. This shift is all about actively sharing, giving your unique gifts, putting energy out freely, without hidden motives or expecting an immediate payback on your personal journey.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, he mentions sharing his wisdom, even his struggles openly, or investing money in just having fun, creating joy with friends, which then unexpectedly led to opportunities coming back to him along his wander. It's about energy reciprocity on our shared journey. When you give energy through service, creativity, even just investing in joy and connection, you kind of open the channel for energy to flow back to you as you wander.
It's like the universe itself responds to that generous energy as we wander through it.
What? That's the idea. It's about aligning with the natural flow of exchange that underlies our shared existence. By focusing on giving value, serving others on our wander, you naturally create space to receive. He also points out that the huge wealth gap we see is partly fueled by this collective belief in scarcity and our tendency to criticize the wealthy instead of focusing on our own growth and contribution to the shared wander. He encourages aligning with nature's way, benefiting from others expanding, rather than resisting or judging it on our individual journeys.
He also mentions operating from grace and gratitude, asking, how can I serve as we wander through our days?
Yes, that shift in focus from what can I get from my personal journey to how can I serve? How can I contribute to the wider wander? How can I give value to others along the way? That's crucial. He believes compensation naturally follows the value you bring and also how difficult you are to replace in the whole tapestry of our shared wander. And he stresses trusting the bigger mind, being open to help, open to unexpected opportunities as we wander, instead of trying to control everything from our limited individual viewpoint.
That's a really refreshing take on money as we navigate our personal and collective wanderings. Now, something that often brings people together, lightens the mood on our shared journey: laughter. The notes mention its importance.
Yeah, from a biological mammalian viewpoint, laughter is seen as a way we connect through play as we journey together. It probably evolved from survival stuff like mock fighting in animals.
Like social bonding.
Exactly. It's a signal within the group we're wandering with that says, hey, it's safe, everything's okay here.
But it does more for us as individuals on our own wander, right?
Yeah.
Deeper than just social cues.
Oh, definitely. On a deeper, energetic level, laughter literally reprograms the vibration of ourselves as we wander through life. It lightens our frequency, releases endorphins, it sends this message throughout the whole body. Everything is fine. Creates relaxation, well-being that goes way beyond just the social connection we feel on our shared wander.
Matías even uses humor personally, right? To handle coming back from those deep, energetic states he experiences on his inner wander.
Yes, he tells a story about returning from a really intense energetic experience, and the first thing he did was use humor to ground himself, process what just happened on his internal journey. It's a way to kind of lighten the intensity and re-engage with this reality in a more playful way as he continues his earthly wander.
That makes perfect sense. It's like a gentle way to land back on Earth after exploring the inner cosmos. So how does all this tie together? Navigating the material world, manifesting things we want as we wander through life, trying to shape our path.
Well, Matisse's own story of how he started making money through talks, series, projects that people supported it, highlights how important it is to share yourself, share your needs as you wander and connect. People backed him because they believed in what he was doing on his path.
Right.
He tells that story about writing his first book with hardly any resources, just trusting the process of his creative wander.
So it's moving away from that grind hard to get something mentality on our individual wander towards understanding that help, possibilities, can show up unexpectedly if we stay open on our journey.
Precisely. By relying more on that universal mind, being open to receive as we wander, not just focusing solely on our own effort and trying to control our path, he really emphasizes sharing your authentic self, even your needs, with others you meet on your wander. Because that's what attracts the support, the resources you need for your journey. It's a mix, taking inspired action along your path, but also surrendering to the flow, trusting that things will emerge as you continue your wander.
And our past.
Yeah.
Ancestral patterns.
Yeah.
They can affect our ability to manifest, to shape our wander.
Absolutely. He shares that personal bit about healing ancestral patterns around scarcity that he realized he was carrying on his personal wander. He saw how past traumas, conditions in his family line, were impacting his experience with abundance right now on his journey.
To addressing those.
Yeah, by consciously facing and healing those patterns, he was able to unlock more personal expansion, move more freely along his path.
Like clearing out old, energetic baggage from the past allows a clearer flow in the present as we keep wandering. Okay, let's touch on relationships quickly as we connect with others on this shared journey. The notes call them resonance.
Right. The idea is relationships form through energetic resonance. We attract people carrying similar frequencies or having similar underlying connections as we wander through life and bump into each other. He uses an analogy of a song. Like a song with repeating chords, but different instruments playing them. That describes how different people play various roles in our lives as we journey together.
Even the difficult parts, the conflicts, they're part of the song of our shared wander, leading somewhere.
Yeah, challenges, conflicts, and relationships. They're also seen as part of the overall pattern, part of the song that ultimately pushes us towards growth, resolution, as we learn and evolve together on our shared wander. He also brings up this provocative concept, conscious slut, which basically means being radically open to receiving codes, information, insights from all relationships, connecting all the points of our shared experience, seeing every interaction as a potential teacher, a source of understanding as we navigate our interconnected wander.
Interesting concept indeed as we navigate all the connections on our path. Okay, finally, let's look ahead. Technology, AI, transhumanism. There's definitely anxiety around these as we think about the future of our wander. What's Matisse's take on this unfolding part of our journey?
He tends to frame the rise of AI and transhumanism not as something inherently scary as we move into the future of our wander, but more as a natural step in evolution.
Like it's meant to happen.
Kind of. He compares it to Atlantis' fall, which he links partly to them resisting a shift in astrological ages. He sees us moving from the Piscean age, maybe focused on utopian dreams, into the Aquarian age, which requires us to be active creators. And technology is a tool for that transformation on our ongoing wander.
So spirituality and tech aren't necessarily enemies as we navigate the future of our journey.
Not necessarily opposed at all. He points out that even something like activating the pineal gland could be seen through a tech lens, activating the body's own technology through different methods as we explore our inner landscapes. He really stresses that technology will just mirror our collective consciousness as we shape the future of our wander. So the key isn't the tech itself, but our awareness, our conscious intention as we move forward with it.
He even compares tech to silica, like mountains, crystals, saying it's a natural part of the planet's evolution that we're seeing on our ongoing wander.
Yeah, seeing technology as just another form of silica, part of Earth's own evolution as we collectively journey through time. He reminds us, the planet's been through massive changes before extinctions, resets it's part of its process. So instead of fearing technology as we move forward, he urges us to focus on how we interact with it and to see its potential to actually enhance our connection with nature, even other species, as we continue our wander.
What about the fear of misuse? Technology in the wrong hands, used by those in power as we move forward on our collective wander. That's a big worry for people.
He definitely acknowledges that fear. But his emphasis is on raising our collective consciousness as we navigate this new territory on our shared wander. He uses this parent-child analogy for humanity and technology.
Meaning
Meaning we need to be conscious parents. We need education, mindful interaction to guide technology's development as we move forward on our journey. And he ends on a hopeful note, suggesting that maybe future generations, kids who aren't carrying all our past traumas, might be able to integrate technology much more harmoniously as they continue the human wander.
It really does all seem to circle back to our inner state, doesn't it? We started there with heaven on earth being a state of being during our wander.
Exactly. That's the thread running through all of this, isn't it? The core message seems to be, we aren't separate from the planet. We are the Earth, evolving on its own grand wander. The shift isn't about trying to save something out there. It's about recognizing we're part of it and finding ways to harmonize with the whole ecosystem as we each play our unique part in this collective wander.
So it comes down to each of us finding our own rhythm, our own harmony, and contributing our individual song to this amazing evolving world as we continue our personal and collective wander.
Precisely. Find your harmony, play your song as you wander.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the wander. It's been a really fascinating exploration of our interconnected journey.